Hi, Roger Bryan here, and I want to talk about how to profit from the next crypto surge. So, if you've been hearing about cryptocurrencies for the last couple of years, but you haven't taken the plunge, how can you strategically time your entry into the market, and what should you be looking for? In order to do that, let's kind of go back to the beginning. Let's kind of go back to 2009. Let's talk about the birth of Bitcoin. So at that time, it was really only early adopters. These are the people that were getting in sub $10. These are the people that you hear the stories about that bought pizzas for 20,000 Bitcoin and things like that. Um, they were playing around with something that maybe they believed was going to become something big that the rest of the world knew nothing about. Fast forward a couple of years, 2011, 2012, you start to see a little bit of adoption beyond the early adopters, but mostly still in the tech space, and that it has some ebbs and flows in profitability, and then it kind of dies down and it goes dormant for a little while. Now let's fast forward to the beginning of 2017, where things really started to heat up. The beginning of 2017, the cryptocurrency market had a total market cap of $20 billion. By the end of the year, that was up to over $500 billion, a tremendous amount of growth in just 1 year. How did that happen? Well, it expanded beyond just the nerds of the world and the super early adopters into the early adopters in investing. So you started to see more people in the business development space, the real estate space, the people that were speculative investors started to jump in. Towards the very end of the year, you saw Wall Street investors start to jump in as you started seeing the first futures products in the Bitcoin space from this CME, the CBOE, and a couple other different institutions. And then you're going to continue to see expanding. So now that you know where we're at, where we've gone, and how the growth has come up, what's the next growth phase? One of the most important statistics that we concentrate on from an adoption perspective in the investment instruments industry is the total number of participants in a market. So 56% of all Americans own some type of stock, whether it's a mutual fund, it's an ETF, it's a 401k, it's an IRA. They actually own stock. It's 56%. In the cryptocurrency market, it's estimated that we're less than half of 1%. So that means that there is well over 100-fold growth opportunity from an adoption standpoint of this type of financial instrument, if you want to call it a financial instrument. I know some people don't because they don't want the SEC to do what the SEC does. But for the rest of us that welcome SEC regulation in order to give some validity to the overall industry and to our investments, we're all for it. And the reason that I say that that's important is because you're not going to go from 0.5% adoption rate in the traditional Main Street investing market to anywhere near 56% if there's no regulation behind it, then it's pure speculation. There needs to be the formalized reporting and accountability that comes with that. That was kind of a tangent, but how are you going to profit from this? The major transition that's going on right now today as you're watching this video is the death of the unregulated ICO and the birth of the regulated securitized project in this space. A lot of people like to call, they're called a Reg A+, but they can also be done from an accredited perspective under a Reg D. You're going to see even bigger projects using Reg S. You're going to see a lot of these projects come to market in a regulated manner with accountability, protecting you, the investor, from all of the fraudulent activity that's been out there. This is a good thing because this is the next big wave. As of today, there are 17 projects that are in some sense of fundraising in a regulated manner in the market. Compare that to ICOs of December. There was 180 ICOs in that month. In the first quarter of 2018, there's only been 17 registered securities come into the fundraising standard. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all a good investment. I tend to look for the ones that actually give me equity in the company or some type of warrant to a token in the future, instead of just a securitized token that's kind of just taking an extra step from a regulatory perspective, but not actually providing more value. If you're looking for the next big run, it's going to be those first net new projects that make it to market under the regulated bodies in each individualized country. I'm in the United States. I'm talking to you about the SEC regulation. I'm looking at the projects that I believe will come to market this year, either through the OTCs, over the counter, or that will come onto the regulated exchanges as Bank of America is developing one, T0 is coming to market, and other exchanges that are going to become regulated exchanges or follow suit like with a Coinbase, it's a commodities broker, giving you an opportunity to invest now in the projects of the future. So to me, that's the number one way that you're going to do it. You're going to look for those regulated fundraising campaigns and make sure that there's a legitimate project with a legitimate roadmap to come to market, giving you liquidity or giving you an opportunity to watch that grow. The other side of that is that as all of this regulation is taking place, it's going to open up other opportunities for products that are already in the market that you may own that may take the leap to transition from an unregulated, unregistered security into a securitized asset. I don't know what the roadmap looks like for that, but I do have the feeling that there are some projects that are tied into some of the groups that are associated with Overstock and T0, that they're not just going to bring a huge major new exchange to market and then only take in net new projects trickling in, that they're actually going to be looking at and working on some much larger scale transition from unregulated to regulated securities. And as long as those are done in a manner that holds value to the individual owner of those coins or tokens today, I think that that's going to be a huge opportunity. Now, that one's a little bit tougher play. That one's really just looking for diversification in major projects that have validity. You can look for some of the connections between Overstock and some of their other groups that they work with and the assets that they've invested in or projects that they've invested in, so that you can see the direct line that they would take into that exchange. That's more of a broad-reaching thing. Listen to me when I say stay away from the unregistered securities that are coming to market in this world through the old school ICOs. Concentrate on the ones that are taking the time to do things right, and you will profit from that. I don't know if it's going to be as big as the previous run. I don't know if it's going to actually be much bigger than the previous run. I think it's going to be bigger, but it might take longer than, say, a 6-month or a 1-year run that we saw in 2017. You might be looking at 3 to 5 year investments, but I do think that there's still a huge opportunity to be involved. I didn't mention any individual projects because you can look for them on your own. And we'll talk about that in some other videos. So if you liked this content, do me a favor, subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of new content coming out all the time. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the space, click the link below to take advantage of some of our other free trainings. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. This is Roger Bryan. Appreciate you. Peace.